Welcome back to the Spector Creative channel. As always, I'm your host, Scott Toy Guru Neitlich. Well, except for, when I have guest hosts on, but I usually tell you that's happening. Either way, you're putting up with me, so sit down and relax. We're talking about action figure collecting, like usual on this channel, and most of us display our action figures in a very similar way. We put them on a shelf, like a trophy. Maybe a lot of us didn't have trophies growing up. Maybe we did. Either way, that's really what an action figure shelf is. It's a trophy of our love for a certain IP or of toys. And however we display them, whether we do them in giant groups or we display them next to their content, like this display of figures next to the comic books they came from, it's all about a celebration of our love for something. I mean, we wouldn't take the time to do all of this if we didn't love it, right? You may just be individually putting the figures out. You may be putting them in teams. You may be setting them up in dioramas. There is no limit to the way you can set figures up. This is the way we do it at the end, in the aftermarket, in our home, or our man cave, or our woman cave, or in any cave we might have access to. Well, that's not how they start out. Obviously, at retail, action figures, like most toys, start out on packaging and hanging on pegs or hooks, or stacked in bins on clearance in retailers. Whether it's a big box retailer or it's a comic book store, the figure is probably being sold to you like this, in package. One single figure, well, unless it's a multi-pack, but let's just go with one figure for sense of, consistency and simplicity here. And you're buying that figure, and that figure, though, isn't how it arrived. That figure isn't how it arrived? That's not right at all. That's not how that figure arrived to that store. It arrived like this, in what's called a master carton. So a master carton is usually a brown box with labels on the side, and inside are things like this. You are going to get action figures or toys or whatever. I mean, assuming you ordered action figures, that's what the store is going to get. And sometimes there is an equal number. There's 6 characters in the assortment, and you get one of each figure in the case pack. But that's rare. That usually doesn't happen. Usually case packs are more like this, where one or more figures are in a case pack multiple times. And the question is, why, how, and when? Why do people do this? Why does the toy industry do this? And how do they decide which characters are going to be doubled? Is it just, you're going to open up a box and it's random and you never know who's going to be doubled up and who's going to be a single figure, and maybe it'll all be the same figure. Maybe it won't even be figures. Maybe it'll be apples. Okay, that's not going to happen. But it's all based on the concept called a case pack. And that is done to maximize the number of figures in the case and sales. So let's dive in. It all starts with really super smart scientists from the 1940s, filmed in black and white. Now, these gentlemen come together and come up with the best possible assortment. A lot of case packs are done like this candy here, like food, in an assortment, where you're going to get a large variety, and you're going to get many, many different flavors, many different kinds, and it could be donuts or it could be superheroes. So here's an example with the Hulk, and I know these guys didn't ship together, but as an example, it could be, superheroes that all are similar but different flavors, if you will, of the same superhero. Or it could be called a solid case pack, where you're going to get all of the same exact thing. Now, why would you want multiples of the exact same thing? Wouldn't that be kind of boring? Well, there are reasons for that. There's a reasons between assortments and solid case packs. And I'll explain that. In fact, I'll explain that right now. All right, so let's go back to that Hulk that I used poorly because the red Hulk in the middle was an exclusive to Target. He's going to come in a solid case pack because he's not part of an assortment. It's just one item, and it's an exclusive or customized item. So a case pack will have all of red Hulks in it. Other things like playsets. Playsets are a great example where it's one single SKU. So a master carton might contain 2 of the exact same playset, but it's called a solid case pack. So in this case, 2 Castle Grayskull playsets. Or sometimes a solid case pack only has 1, like the new Origins Castle Grayskull ships in a master carton, master case, of 1 unit. That happens too. All right, now 80 plus of action figures or toys are sold solid case packs, not assorted. This doesn't happen that much with action figures, though. Action figures is one of the rare in the toy industry in total, and I'm including toddler, I'm including, all water toys, everything, all categories. One of the rare times that action figures shipped to retail as a solid case pack was this Darth Vader from Episode 3. Darth Vader was so popular that Hasbro was shipping solid case packs of one figure. You never noticed because he sold out so quickly, but it's a rare example. Another example when action figures will ship in solid case packs is for online retailers like Entertainment Earth or Big Bad Toy Store, Dorkside Toys, all of those. They'll want to order figures in solid case packs because that's how their customers order them. They might, they're going to call up or go online and say, I want just this one figure. I don't want a full case pack. I just want, one or two characters. This is something when I was running the DC Universe Classics line at Mattel that was really, I wouldn't call it an issue, but it was a problem to be solved because retailers wanted an assortment so that people could come in and choose which character they wanted. There was lots of variety on shelf. They did interrelate with the Collect and Connect figure, but the idea is there's a lot of color, a lot of variety, and for a kid or a collector, they're coming in and they're getting a choice. Well, online retailers and comic book stores didn't like this because they wanted to be able to order a specific figure. And to tell you this was a logistical nightmare is an understatement, because it basically meant coordinating production that when the assortment was made, you also had to produce the open stock, which open stock means solid case pack. So if you wanted all of one figure that was in a wave, when you were producing that figure for the wave, you also produced the open stock at the same time. And there was a lot of resistance to this because it just wasn't the way things had been done. But through a lot of hard work, it really helped because sales really took off with DCU Classics once we introduced solid case packs for what are called alternative retail, meaning sales comic book stores, mom and pop, anything not big box, basically, that wanted to be able to order this way. It's all an MOQ thing. All right, so what other types of items and why are items sold in a assortment? Why can you get many different kinds in one box?
Because Allah loves wondrous variety.
And Hot Wheels is a perfect example of this because stores want to have the maximum number of Hot Wheels on shelf. They're 99 cents or like $1.10 now maybe, and it's all about different silhouettes and colors to appeal to kids or collectors, though the bulk of sales are to kids, like 95%, more than action figures, and having a huge variety on shelf because these are really an impulse buy or a shut-me-up gift. They want to have a giant variety and many options. So then the question is, well, how many do you put in a master carton? Hot Wheels ships in 72. A lot of Marvel Legends ship in 8. Well, it's all about the case and a half rule. Retailers want to have a full case plus a half of another case on shelf so that they could put half of that second case in the back for essentially instant replenishment, to not have to wait for another master carton to arrive. So when you look at toys skewed in the aisle, all of this is done based on how many units can fit on a peg and ensuring that the case pack supports that case and a pack rule. They're literally built to customization to the retailer's needs, and really the big ones, the Walmarts and the Targets, if you will. They work with the toy company to figure out how many units are needed in a master carton to fulfill the case and a half rule. It's all done mathematically. It's all done with really fancy light-up rulers, and it's done very early in the process. Believe me, if you only knew how much goes into this. So, speaking of things going into other things, well, what makes a knowledgeable brand manager to understand if you have an assortment of figures? Here you have 6 figures, but you have a case pack of 8. So what do you put inside? What do you put inside the master carton? If you have 8 seats, right, the master carton fits 8, but you only have 6 SKUs. Well, the logical thing is you can double up. You can take one figure and put it in the case pack more than once. And this is why you see that when you say, there's multiples of Gambit shipping in this wave. There's 2 of him. So, but why Gambit? Why not Beast, who's the more expensive figure to make because he's fully tooled? Or why not Wolverine because he's Wolverine? You can also triple up. That's been done too, although it is rarer. Usually is more doubling than tripling, but it does happen because sometimes you get a character that's outrageously popular, like Baby Yoda here, and no, I'm not going to call him Grogu. He's Baby Yoda. And so he winds up in a case pack 3 times because kids love Baby Yoda. This is really the difference between good salesmen or brand managers and great ones. The great ones really understand the market and really understand the IP. The ones that are fans of the IP, like comic book fans or sci-fi fans or wrestling fans, fantasy, whatever it is, whatever genre the toys are, when you are a fan of that, and if you go into toy making, it gives you a huge advantage. Or maybe you're lucky enough to work with a designer like Bill Beneke here on DCU Classics, who was a huge DC Comics fan, way bigger than me. I'm kind of like, an average fan. He's like a super fan, so it was really great to have him on the team. But more importantly than knowing the IP, because that's, for collectors, you really want to know what kids want. And that tends to be the A-list characters, the ones that show up in the movies that, are very well known. Everyone knows that collectors are exactly like eagles. They swoop in and steal baby lions from their mom and dad. And that's the way they collect toys. They swoop in, they grab it, and they get out. So what happens with those left behind that the collectors don't get? When a full case pack is put out there and collectors scoop up all the figures for the Build-A-Figure or all the characters that are super hot or brand new, well, the idea is to really think about which characters are still going to be on shelf. And you really want them to be the A-list characters. You want the ones that remain behind after a collector has come in and grabbed their full, because that's what they do. So, yeah, you're not going to see a loser like Spot show up multiple times in a case pack if Hasbro would ever make him already. So, if you look at a Spider-Man Marvel Legends wave, since we're talking about Spider-Man villains, why not? Well, no matter what the wave, you're always going to see Spider-Man as the character that's doubled up. And if there's 2 Spider-Mans in that wave, you'll see both of those Spider-Mans doubled up. Because when a collector comes through, they're going to buy one of each figure, and they're going to leave one behind. So this second Scarlet Spider is going to get left behind. The collector doesn't need that for the Build-A-Figure. Or in this case, there are 2 different Spider-Mans. See, I told you about that. And they're both doubled up. This is sort of more proof of why Marvel Legends is aimed at kids. You would think if it was for collectors, characters like Vulture or, White Rabbit would be the double up, but they're not. It's for kids. Case packs are a total marriage of science and art. It is understanding the IP, it's understanding emotions, and there is a method to the madness. There's science deciding how big the case pack should be. There's emotion understanding how fans, no matter what age they are, will relate to the product. And that is really what makes a great toy maker. Someone who truly, truly understands action figures. So, if you love action figures, a job in the toy industry could really benefit from you. The more you know about the IP and the process and the emotional connection to toys, the better you're going to be and the better sales are going to be for companies. Companies should really hire people who know the brand and know kids. I hope you enjoyed this look at case packs and how they work. If you did, a subscription, a like, a bell ring, a comment, all of those are most appreciated. It's a great way to show support for this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.